I still remember the email subject line. Home for your birthday. We have something special planned. It was from my mom's short suite, with just enough passive-aggressive cheer to make my stomach twist. I hadn't been back home in nearly 2 years, not since I left our small town in Vermont for a life in Seattle. A life that was mine, shaped by my decisions, my silence, and my escape from everything I once tried to fit into. But that message, it sounded innocent, almost too innocent. I read it at 2:00 a.m., sitting cross-legged in my tiny studio apartment, sipping cold chamomile tea and half listening to the hum of my radiator. I clicked it open. Hey, sweetheart, your birthday's coming up. We've decided to throw a nice little dinner for you at home. Your dad is excited. Lily's helping with the planning. It'll be just us, nothing fancy. Just come. We miss you. That line again. We miss you. As if we had ever truly connected in the first place. Lily, my younger sister, the family star, the perfect girl with the perfect laugh and the conveniently short memory. I stared at the message, then stared harder. My birthday was just 3 weeks away. I hadn't celebrated it with them since I turned 23, the same year I walked in on my boyfriend Eric, looking way too cozy with Lily in the kitchen during Thanksgiving. They said it was a misunderstanding, that I was overreacting, that Eric was just helping her fix the cabinet drawer. Sure, I moved out that winter, never looked back, but here I was, 29 now, still single, still rebuilding from the emotional landfill that was my early 20s. And somehow that email with its cheer and innocence felt like bait. And yet something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe a desire to prove I was over it, made me reply, sure. I'll come. I hit send. I regretted it almost immediately. I booked my flight the next day. I didn't tell anyone in Seattle, not my co-workers, not my 2 close friends, not even my roommate who would have talked me out of it. This was personal. Too personal. I landed in Vermont a day before the party. The air smelled like damp pine and old secrets. My dad picked me up at the airport. He gave me a side hug, one of those awkward, half-hearted ones, and commented on how I look healthier than before. Translation. You've gained weight. I smiled. Good to see you too, Dad. The house looked the same. Brown shutters, white porch swing, flower pots on the steps, one of them already dead. My mum rushed out like we were on a soap opera, arms wide, lips, tight eyes scanning me like a security camera. And Lily. She stepped out last. She was glowing, literally. Hair highlighted, lips glossy, nails done in a pale pink that screamed engaged. And yet she said nothing about any big news. Welcome home, she said, hugging me lightly. We've missed you. There it was again. We, inside the house, felt like a shrine to everything I tried to forget. Photos of us as kids still lined the hallway, except my senior portrait had been replaced with one of Lily's college graduation. The dining room had a new chandelier, probably Lily's suggestion. She always had a thing for fancy lighting. Dinner that night was oddly quiet. They asked about my job, graphic designer, at a small Seattle firm, but not in a way that showed real interest. Then Lily asked, still single. I nodded, still breathing. She giggled. My mum didn't. Later in my old bedroom, I sat on the bed clutching the pillow like it was my last ounce of self-control. The walls still had faint outlines where posters used to be. The bookshelf held my old diaries. I considered reading them just to remind myself how far I'd come. But instead, I opened my suitcase and pulled out a dress I hadn't worn in years. A deep green silk wrap dress. The one Eric once told me made me look too serious. Perfect. Tomorrow would be my birthday. And something told me it wouldn't be just about me. I woke up to the scent of bacon. For a moment, it almost felt like childhood, like Saturday mornings when Mum would fry bacon and Lily, and I would fight over the last pancake. But that moment passed quickly, evaporating as soon as I opened my eyes and remembered where I was. Home. A word that used to mean something. I got up, brushed my teeth in the same tiny bathroom with the same cracked tiles, and pulled my hair into a loose bun. My green dress hung neatly on the back of the closet door, like a quiet promise. Downstairs, the kitchen buzzed with energy. My mother was stirring something on the stove. My dad sat at the table already in his usual khaki pants and flannel shirt, sipping coffee and reading the newspaper. Lily was slicing fruit, humming softly to herself. "Morning," she chirped like we hadn't lived years apart with more silence than words between us. I nodded. "Morning." Mum turned around. "Sleep well." Surprisingly, I lied. She smiled, then handed me a mug of coffee. "We're doing a brunch for your birthday, but the real dinner's tonight. We invited a few close family friends. Just casual." "Casual. Right. Sounds nice," I said, taking a sip. Dad cleared his throat. "You might see some familiar faces." Something in his tone felt expectant. I didn't like it. Before I could ask, Lily cut in. "And you'll love the dessert. I helped Mom make your favorite chocolate lava cake." That actually made me pause. She remembered we ate in relative peace, the small talk circling like harmless moths around a flame. But beneath it all, I could sense the tension. The way my mum kept glancing at her watch. The way Lily kept checking her phone. At one point, I caught her smiling at a text, the kind of smile you don't fake. I wanted to ask who it was, but I didn't. I didn't want the answer. Later that afternoon, while Mom and Lily were busy decorating the dining room, just a few flowers, nothing big, they said, I wandered into the backyard. The garden was blooming, though a bit overgrown. The swing set was gone. The treehouse we built as kids had rotted, only the ladder remained. And then I saw it, the old bench near the fence. That was where Eric first kissed me back when we were 16, and shy, and thought forever was a promise we could actually keep. I sat down slowly, the wood creaking under me, and let the memories wash over like cold rain. We were high school sweethearts, that kind of love that feels infinite until it's not. He was charming, witty, thoughtful until he wasn't. Until Thanksgiving. I told myself for years that maybe I imagined the look between him and Lily that day. The stolen glances, the way she laughed too hard at his jokes. But then I remembered how he brushed her hair off her shoulder when he thought no one was looking. I was looking. And from that moment on, nothing felt safe anymore. Back inside the house was almost transformed. Candles, napkins, wine glasses. Too much for a casual family dinner. My mom handed me a box. "Here, something for tonight." I opened it and found a pair of earrings, silver with tiny emerald stones. "They were mine," she said softly. "Thought you might like them." I blinked. "Thank you." Lily appeared at the doorway, adjusting her necklace. "You're gonna love how everything turns out. Tonight's going to be unforgettable." Her words sat wrong, like they knew something I didn't. By evening, the guests had arrived. Aunts, uncles, neighbors. People I hadn't seen in years. I shook hands, smiled politely, accepted compliments about how much I'd grown up and blossomed code, for you look less miserable than before. Then I saw him. Eric, standing in the doorway holding a bottle of wine and looking every bit the polished, confident man I once fell in love with and had tried desperately to forget. I froze. My heart stopped, then sprinted. He looked right at me. His eyes widened slightly, not guilt, not regret, just surprise. He walked over. "Hey," he said, voice low, casual. "Long time." I couldn't speak. Lily swooped in like a bird landing on a branch. She slipped her arm around his. "You remember Eric, right?" she said to the nearest aunt, like I wasn't even there. "Oh, of course," my aunt gushed. "You two make such a beautiful couple. Couple, I turned to my mother. She avoided my gaze, suddenly busy arranging napkins. I felt the floor shift beneath me. Not literally. But emotionally, everything cracked. Eric didn't say a word. Neither did I. Dinner was surreal. I sat between my dad and a distant cousin trying to eat without tasting anything. Lily and Eric sat directly across from me, whispering and giggling like middle schoolers. I forced a smile. They toasted to me, "Happy birthday, sweetie," and I nodded, said thanks, tried to mean it. Then my mother stood up with her wine glass. If I could have everyone's attention. The room quieted. She smiled, eyes gleaming. This night isn't just special because it's our Sarah's birthday. Here it comes. It's also special because we have another reason to celebrate. Lily squealed, holding up her hand. A diamond ring caught the light like a dagger. We're engaged, she shouted. To Eric, to my ex. The room erupted into applause. I sat still, very still. No one noticed. Or maybe they did and chose to ignore it. My mother beamed. My father clapped. And Eric. He didn't look at me once. I felt my world tilt, my stomach twist, and my throat close up. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled. A smile I had spent years learning to fake, and inside I made a silent vow. This is the last time they humiliate me. The last time I sit quietly. They wouldn't see it coming. I sat there clapping lightly with the rest of them, my palms barely brushing together. If anyone noticed how forced my smile was, how tight my jaw had become, they didn't say a thing. No one leaned in to ask if I was okay. No one hesitated to celebrate my sister's engagement to the man who once told me I was his future. And maybe that was the most painful part. Not the betrayal itself, but the indifference. Lily was glowing, laughing, showing off the ring like she'd won the lottery. My mother was already going on about flower arrangements and venues. Someone passed around a champagne bottle. Glasses clinked. Eric, my Eric, or at least the version of him that once held my hand in that very backyard, stood there with a polite smile, nodding along as Lily bragged about how he proposed on a hiking trail overlooking a lake. That was my favorite place. That was where I told him I wanted to grow old one day. And now it was where he apparently got down on one knee for someone else. My sister. I didn't know you were back, he said softly as the crowd dispersed a bit and he approached me. I looked up from my untouched cake. I didn't know you were in the family now. He winced. It just happened. We didn't plan it. Oh, spare me the rom-com lines. He lowered his voice. I'm sorry. Okay. I met his eyes, deep blue, like the lake he'd stolen from my memories, and I didn't see guilt. Not really. Just a man who was sorry I showed up to make things awkward. Don't be, I said, standing. You two deserve each other. The rest of the night blurred. I made excuses, said I had a headache, skipped dessert, hid in the laundry room for a while just to breathe. Lily found me eventually. I was hoping you'd be happy for me, she said, twisting her ring. I stared at her, at the girl who used to braid my hair, who used to cry when I beat her at Monopoly, who once promised we'd never let a boy come between us. I guess congratulations are in order, I said, voice flat. She smiled, but her eyes searched mine for something approval, permission, forgiveness, I wasn't sure. And I didn't offer any of them. Instead, I added, you know he cheated on me, right? Her face flickered, just for a second. Then came the denial. It wasn't like that. You two were already drifting apart. And maybe it just wasn't meant to be. No, it wasn't. Not once you entered the picture. I left her there in the hallway. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my childhood bed, surrounded by dusty trophies and posters that didn't feel like mine anymore, and stared at the ceiling. My heart didn't ache the way it used to. It burned. Not because I still loved him, I didn't, but because they all looked me in the eyes and celebrated her while erasing me. At 3 a.m., I opened my laptop. I had been quietly working on a freelance project for months now, a branding campaign for a rising wellness company in California. I wasn't just a junior designer anymore. I was the creative lead. I had just signed a contract that would triple my income. I hadn't told anyone, because they never asked. But as I stared at the glowing screen and the numbers in my account, the bonuses, the equity, the deals pending, I realized something. They didn't see me anymore, because I had outgrown their version of me. And that was power. The next morning, I was packing my bags before sunrise. Mom knocked gently. Leaving already, I nodded. Early flight. Work. She looked disappointed. But we haven't even done birthday breakfast. I've had enough cake. She sighed. You're always so dramatic. I almost laughed. And you're always so... blind. She blinked, taken aback. What's that supposed to mean? It means I watched you clap and smile while my sister showed off a ring from the man who cheated on me under your roof, and you said nothing. Sarah, I'm not mad anymore, Mom. I'm just done. I zipped my suitcase. She didn't follow me out. As I waited for my rideshare on the front porch, Lily stepped out in her robe. You're really leaving? Yes. Without saying goodbye, I looked at her. You already said it for me. Last night. She bit her lip. I didn't mean to hurt you, but you did. And honestly, that's on you now. She wrapped her arms around herself. Are we ever going to be okay again? I shrugged. That depends on whether you ever learn to be sorry, not just for getting caught, but for betraying someone who trusted you. The car pulled up. I got in. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back. Seattle welcomed me back with rain. Cold, heavy, honest rain, the kind that doesn't pretend to be anything other than what it is. Unlike my family. Unlike the smiles I left behind. As the cab drove through the familiar streets toward my apartment, I let my forehead rest against the window. I wasn't crying. Not anymore. The ache in my chest had faded into something firmer like resolve. That birthday party wasn't a beginning. It was a line in the sand, and I had just stepped across it. The following weeks passed in a quiet blur. I threw myself into work, long hours, endless drafts, late-night edits with my team on Zoom, but for the first time in years I felt alive doing it. I wasn't just designing logos or fixing fonts. I was building something. By the end of that quarter, my name appeared on the project's homepage. Creative Director Sarah Mitchell. That name used to make me feel small. Now it felt like mine again. I didn't post about it. I didn't send a mass email. I didn't call home to announce the news, not that anyone would have picked up anyway. My phone was silent, and strangely, that was a relief. Silence can be painful, but it can also be powerful. The years rolled by. 2 birthdays passed. No more invitations. No awkward emails from Mum. No text from Lily. The space between us stretched longer, colder, like a bridge burned and left to rot. But in that space, I found something else me. I bought a condo near the water, painted the walls myself, took weekend hikes, started therapy, learned how to say no without guilt. I even fell in love again briefly with a kind-hearted man who loved music and had no interest in my past. We didn't last, but we didn't break each other either. And one evening, as I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realized something. I wasn't broken anymore. I was better, not because I had forgotten, but because I had grown. Then one Tuesday morning it arrived. A letter, an actual paper envelope, cream-colored with gold embossing. My name, my full name, was handwritten in cursive I didn't recognize. Inside was an invitation. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Lily Mitchell and Eric Holston, to be held at the Rosewater Estate in Vermont. Formal attire required, reception to follow. I stared at it for a long time, not because it surprised me. I figured they'd go through with it eventually, but because of what came with it. A personal note scribbled on the back. We'd love for you to come. It would mean a lot to have the whole family together again. Please consider it Mom family. That word again. It always sounded so warm in theory, so suffocating in reality. I held the card between my fingers, felt the weight of it, the false sweetness of it. They wanted me back, not because they missed me, but because appearances mattered, and something in me shifted, not with anger, but with clarity. I didn't RSVP, not yet. Instead, I made a call, not to my mother, not to Lily, but to my lawyer. Her name was Mia Patel, sharp, discreet, loyal. Mia, I said, I need your help preparing a wedding gift. Something quiet but unforgettable. She laughed. Now you have my attention. Because sometimes the loudest revenge isn't a speech, it's a document, it's a signature, it's a moment that flips the story without a single raised voice. And I was ready, not to ruin their day, but to rewrite my own ending. I arrived in Vermont 2 days before the wedding. No announcement, no dramatic entrance. I booked a quiet room at a boutique inn 5 miles from the Rosewater Estate, the wedding venue. It used to be an apple orchard, now transformed into a picturesque destination for people who wanted rustic charm with 5-star price tags. I packed light, just one suitcase, one emerald green dress, and one sealed envelope. That envelope never left my handbag. Not in the car, not in the inn, not even when I went for a walk to clear my mind and passed by the estate where I saw them setting up chairs and string lights and pastel flower arches. It was all beautiful, beautiful and fake, like everything they had built since the day they decided my pain didn't matter. On the morning of the wedding, I took my time getting ready. No rush, no panic. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind 100 times, and yet now that it had arrived, I felt calm, strangely calm, like a storm that had passed long ago, leaving behind nothing but fresh air and solid ground. I slipped on the emerald green dress, the same one I wore at my birthday party 3 years ago. The one Eric once said made me look too serious. Good. Let me look serious. Let me look unforgettable. The Rosewater Estate was buzzing with energy by the time I arrived. I walked past photographers, caterers, family members in pastel suits and floral dresses. Some recognized me, some didn't. Those who did stared, some with surprise, some with discomfort, none with warmth. My mother spotted me first. She made her way over quickly, arms open. "Sarah, you came." Her voice sounded rehearsed, too cheerful. I nodded but didn't hug her. "I didn't RSVP," I said flatly. "Well, we assumed, but I'm so glad you made it." She looked me up and down. "That dress, it's serious." "I know." Her smile faltered. I moved past her. The ceremony was held under a massive oak tree, chairs lined up in perfect symmetry. A string quartet played softly in the background. Lily stood beneath the arch in a flowing white gown that probably cost more than my first year of rent in Seattle. Eric stood beside her, looking confident, collected, and completely unaware of what was coming. I didn't sit with the family. I stood in the back, invisible but present. That was always my power, being the quiet one no one paid attention to, until they had to. When the ceremony ended and the applause died down, the guests moved toward the reception hall. That's when I approached the wedding planner, a young man in a sharp navy suit. "Hi," I said politely. "I'm Sarah Mitchell. I've been asked to deliver something to the couple before the dinner starts." "Privately?" He blinked. "Oh, sure. I can pass it along." I shook my head. "It must be handed directly." "Discreetly, in the bridal suite." "Trust me, it's important." A pause. Then he nodded. "Follow me." The bridal suite was at the edge of the estate overlooking the lake. A perfect view, a perfect moment. Lily was seated near a vanity, reapplying her lipstick. Eric stood near the window, sipping champagne. They both turned as I entered. I didn't smile. Lily's eyes widened. "Sarah, what are you?" I held up the envelope. "I'm not staying. I just came to deliver this. Congratulations." Eric furrowed his brow. "What is that wedding gift?" I said. Lily hesitated, then took it. I turned and walked out before they opened it. I didn't need to be there for what came next. Inside that envelope was a single-page document, a notarized deed transfer. You see, 3 months prior, my grandmother, the only person in the family who ever truly saw me, passed away. Quietly, peacefully, and with a handwritten will that left everything she owned to me. Her lake house, her stocks, and the 38 acres of land directly behind the Rosewater Estate. The very land they were now using for their wedding photos. My land, and the letter attached to that deed. "To Lily and Eric, you're standing on my property. Enjoy the view today, Because tomorrow the privacy hedge goes up, 20 feet tall, no more sunset shots. Best wishes, Sarah. I didn't wait for their reaction. I didn't need to. Power doesn't scream. It whispers in legal clauses and property lines. And when I got into my car, pulled away from the estate, and headed back toward the life I built on my own terms, I smiled. Not the fake smile they taught me to wear, but a real one. Soft, steady, free. It took less than 24 hours for the whispers to start. By the time I landed back in Seattle, the group chat with my college friends was already buzzing. Girl, I just saw a thread about a wedding drama in Vermont, and I swear it sounds like your family. You're a legend if this is true. Can we talk about the hedge iconic? I sipped my airport coffee, scrolled through the messages, and chuckled quietly. Apparently someone at the wedding, probably one of Lily's bridesmaids with a talent for gossip, had leaked the story. Bride's estranged sister gifts wedding couple a legal property notice right before dinner service. It started as a tweet, then a screenshot, then a TikTok, then an entire Reddit thread titled AITA for quietly destroying my sister's wedding with one piece of paper, thousands of comments, most of them cheering me on. Back in Vermont, my family went into damage control mode. I didn't hear from them directly, of course not, but a former neighbor messaged me on Instagram. Not gonna lie, Sarah, your mom looked like she'd swallowed a lemon at the farmer's market today. Also the hedge, it's going up fast. Are you really doing it? Yes. Yes, I was. 3 weeks after the wedding, a team of landscapers began planting a row of evergreen arborvitae trees along the property line. It wasn't petty, it was practical. After all, I now owned the land. And if someone had married their sister's ex on it without permission, wouldn't you want privacy? The estate manager tried to negotiate. Would you consider shortening the height? The wedding packages include full lake views. I smiled over the phone. Then you should consider a new venue. The story hit a local lifestyle blog. Then it went national. Quiet revenge woman inherits land behind sister's wedding venue. Block scenic view with 20-foot hedge. The comments were brutal, but not for me. They were brutal for Lily and Eric. Apparently not everyone loved a story where a woman steals her sister's ex and expects the world to cheer her on. Public opinion has a funny way of correcting what families overlook. And yet, through it all, I never said a word. No interviews, no Facebook rants, no passive-aggressive posts. Just silence. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the discomfort they once handed to me like a party favor. Then one evening I received a letter, handwritten, no return address, just my name in familiar script. It was from Lily. Sarah, I don't know where to begin. I'm not writing to apologize, not because I'm not sorry, but because I know it wouldn't be enough. What I did to you, what we did to you, was selfish. I thought Eric and I were meant to be. Maybe we still are. But the way it happened, I see it now. I see you now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I understand why you did what you did, and I'm sorry it took public embarrassment for me to finally realize what you've lived with all these years. Lily. No return address, no number, no call to reconnect, just words, finally, real ones. I folded the letter and tucked it into the back of my notebook. Not because I forgave her, not yet, but because it was the first time in years she spoke to me without pretending, and that was something. Weeks turned into months. The hedge grew tall and full, blocking the view entirely. The Rosewater estate began marketing itself as a forest-inspired venue instead of lakeside romance. Bookings dropped, but I didn't gloat. I kept creating, kept walking forward, and for the first time in my adult life, I felt like I was no longer running from anything. I was walking towards something better. A year passed. No new drama. No more letters. No more headlines. Just life, beautifully, peacefully normal. I had taken a sabbatical from work to focus on my own creative studio. What started as a solo project in my apartment turned into something more, a boutique agency built around integrity, emotional branding, and quiet storytelling. I called it Still and Bold, 2 words that summed up who I had become. I worked with clients who respected boundaries. I hired people who had been overlooked, underestimated people like me, and I thrived. One chilly October morning, I received a call from a Vermont number I hadn't seen in years. It was the lawyer handling my grandmother's estate. "We've finalized everything," she said. "There's one last matter, a small ceremony in her honor at the town library. They're dedicating a reading room in her name. You're the guest of honor if you'd like to attend." I hesitated. Going back meant facing it all again. But something in me, the part that had stopped flinching every time someone said family whispered go. The town hadn't changed much. Same red brick sidewalks, same tiny bakery that still sold cinnamon buns the size of a dinner plate. Same air that smelled like damp leaves and nostalgia. At the library, they had decorated a small reading nook with soft light shelves filled with classics and a plaque in loving memory of Margaret Mitchell. She believed in stories and in the quiet strength of those who tell them. I stood there, hand over my heart. She had believed in me when no one else did, and somehow, even now, she was still giving me space to belong. After the dedication, I stepped outside for air. That's when I saw them, Lily and Eric, across the street walking hand in hand slower than usual. She spotted me first. We locked eyes, and for a second time froze not with bitterness but with weight. She whispered something to Eric, then crossed the street alone. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." We stood there in silence for a moment, autumn leaves dancing around our feet. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep. The kind that comes from learning hard lessons too late. "I heard about the library," she said. "Grandma would have loved it. She would have." She swallowed. "I didn't know if I should come. It's open to everyone." Another pause. Then she added, "Your agency. I've been following it, Still and Bold. It's beautiful." I blinked. "Thank you. You've become everything I wished I could be," she said, voice trembling. "And I hated you for it. But it wasn't your fault." I looked at her, not through her, not around her, at her. Finally. "I don't hate you," I said honestly. She bit her lip. "But you don't forgive me either." "I'm working on it," I said. "But that doesn't mean we have to go back to what we were." She nodded. "I wouldn't ask you to." And then just like that, she stepped back, gave a small smile, and turned away. That night, I sat on the porch of my grandmother's old lake house, now mine, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars shimmer above the still water. No more parties with hidden agendas, no more weddings built on silence, no more pretending, just me, whole, still, bold, free.